Good afternoon. I am S. Todd Yeary. I am an attorney here today to bring back to the public's focus a matter that has gone silent for far too long. As you are all aware, there was an incident recently that was made public about violations to a student in Aldine ISD on the bus. And in the process, recently there's been an announcement about prosecutorial action in response. But what we have not heard, and why we're here today, is to make it clear that the school district has demonstrated indifference by their silence, in that there has been literally no substantive conversation with the district about addressing these concerns. And so where we are today is we are making the public aware that this issue has not gone away, and that we will be following up with our due diligence in the coming days. With me today is lead counsel, attorney B. Ivory Lamar, also Dr. Candace Matthews. I think everybody is clear, and then of course the student's mother, for the purposes of making sure that we do not draw attention to the child. We will not be using the child's name, but we will be allowing the mother to speak from her heart, from her experience, and then we will come back and take any questions you may have. And so we're going to ask the student's mother, we will just call her Latoya, we will not use her last name, to come and share with you what is on her mind.
Good afternoon. I wrote some notes. Good afternoon. I have some notes here based on my experience with this ordeal and what it's done to our family. First, I'd like to say that I am grateful to the Harris County Prosecutor's DA's office for helping with the criminal harm portion that has been done against my son. I want everyone to know that my son has been traumatized due to this incident, and I am learning how to be a parent to a hurt child. Every day there's a new challenge for my son, riding the bus and coming home from the bus. It's stressful, to say the least, on him. I feel helpless that I cannot protect him. I'm frustrated that I've not had consistent conversation and communication with the Aldine ISD school district. I want answers as to how the school district allowed this to happen with my son in their care and the situations that led up to him being violated. I will continue to press until I get every answer that I deserve. I am grateful for the support from the community leaders, from my church family, my family, and the attorneys, Mr. Lamar and Mr. Yeary. And lastly, I would just ask the public and Harris County to keep myself and my family in your prayers.
At this time, I invite lead counsel, attorney B. Ivory Lamar, to come. After he comes, Dr. Candace Matthews will come.
Thank you. Thank you, Attorney Yeary. To the city of Houston, this great state of Texas, we are here today pleading for accountability. What this school district has done is they have taken away from a sixth grader more than what they've given. This is a school district that has acted in a way in which we now demand accountability. We now demand answers. We demand at this time that there be communications with this family and that there are substantive changes so that no family has to go through what this family has had to go through over these last few months. I want to be very clear that we are now seeking for practices and policies to change. Dr. Matthews will speak to some of those requests, And I think it's also important, while the Harris County District Attorney's Office has issued charges, which we are thankful for, it's important that not only the perpetrator is taking accountability, is taken in that regard, but also the individuals of the school system, the leaders of this school system also have to take accountability for allowing a perpetrator to perpetuate what took place over several months. These type of harms are not just egregious, it's not just negligence, this shocks the conscience. And as such, we are now looking for substantive changes so that no family has to go through this again, so that no sixth grader has to undergo the type of trauma that he now has to live with. You know, people come to school so that they can learn, and families send their children to school so that they can learn and become adults and learn what they need to so that they can be individuals who can add to our society, not to be victimized and have trauma that they'll live with for the rest of their lives. So as such, we will continue fighting. We'll continue to demand answers and do what's necessary to get justice for this family. Thank you.
Before Dr. Matthews comes, just to be clear, and I know counsel said sixth grader, I think it's a sign that this is a shock to the conscience that a six-year-old child at the beginning of the exploration of dreams and the development of possibilities would experience such an egregious, harmful violation of his person and a disruption to his future without any sense of accountability. That's why we're here, and so we want to make sure that we're clear. Counsel is he's passionate in the moment, and so it was the proverbial slip of the tongue, but we are clear that we are representing a child who is 6 years old at the beginning of the development of the most important stage of his life. Dr. Candace Matthews will come now.
Hello, Dr. Candace Matthews, the National Minister of Politics for the New Black Panther Nation. And we were the one who actually brought this story to the forefront for the public. And when we were learning about this story, we were disgusted. And it was just horrific, and it was just asinine. And we just really couldn't believe that this actually has happened. Who wants to send a child to school where it's supposed to be safe, free education, and the school's supposed to ensure that safety is taken care of for your child, and then you get a call that your child has been raped on one of the buses? That is totally unacceptable. Then, when we did further investigation, it was brought to our attention that not just this school district, it's several school districts that do not have bus monitors that are on the bus. We have put several school districts on the news for that specific deal. I don't know if it's budgetary, which I really don't care, because at the end of the day, our children's safety is more important. So what we demand from Aldine ISD as a community, as well as with legal counsel, is that one, they need to have additional staff that needs to be on these buses. Also, video needs to be reviewed regularly on these buses, because why do you have video on the buses and you don't even review them? Because if you did, we wouldn't have this situation that has happened to this kid. Also, the dynamics of having a 6-year-old on a bus with a middle schooler, that is unacceptable. And we demand that the principal for both of those schools that these children came from need to be fired. We demand the supervisor that's over transportation, because this happened under your watch. You need to be fired. We demand the superintendent. You need to get with your board, and you guys need to come up with some type of budget constraint in order to ensure safety on the bus for these kids, because it should not have been that her child was raped on this bus repeatedly for months. And then when she turned around and asked for her child's jacket, then all of a sudden you want to review the video, and you reviewed something that you really didn't see, that you really thought you saw. And that is unacceptable. So Aldine ISD, we're going to need you to tighten up, honey. because this is not going to stop. And any other school district that's within this Houston area or surrounding areas. We do not send our kids to go to school to get raped. We do not send our kids to school to go get bullied. We do not send our kids to school to go and get jumped. So we need you to tighten this stuff up. We need you to get policies in place, and we need our demands answered. Thank you.
We now want to hear from Dr. Darnella Wilkerson, and then we'll take questions.
I'm Dr. Darnella Wilkerson with the New Black Panther Nation, and as piggyback on what Dr. Matthews says, yes, we brought this to the community and to the public's attention. But what I like to say on this to the public, you don't realize the effect that it has on this 6-year-old. This child and the mom needs counseling, and it needs deep counseling, because he's 6 years old, and this could lead until, if he doesn't get counseling, we don't know what the effect would have on him in growing up. It could lead to a lot of things in his life, and one thing we don't want it to lead to is, and I hate to say it, we don't want one thing it to lead to is something seriously to happen to him, and him to become fearful of riding the bus. But I give great courage to the mom to have to be support to her son. So we're asking this school and the administration on what Dr. Matthews says, they need to be fired, or they need to get their stuff together, because according to the state law, the school bus drivers do have the right to stop any activities that are on the buses that go on. Thank you.
Any questions?
You indicated, you indicated, sir, that the DA's office has made it clear that the perpetrator has been charged here, another juvenile. What charges did they charge him with? Do you know?
They charged him with 3 counts of sexual assault of a child.
Three counts of sexual assault of a child.
I'm sorry, what were the charges again? Loud and clear?
3 counts of sexual assault on a child.
And when did those counts come down?
It's been about a month ago that it was reported in the press.
So he was directly charged. Stop. I'm very sorry. You indicated earlier there was no conversation, there's been no communication from the school district in regards to this matter. We understand that obviously this is a criminal matter at the same time. And has the school in its response at any point said, because of the criminal investigation, at this time we can't comment on the matter? I was asking.
Well, the question's a valid one. Has there been a disclaimer from the school district about their silence? Not that we're aware of. But what we will say is that while there may not be the opportunity to make public statements, there's actually an obligation to have a credible conversation with the mother. The truth of the matter is you cannot allow harm to happen to a student and then go radio silent on following up with the family. That's not only insulting, it's very problematic, and I think it speaks to a wider systemic issue.
And parents would also say that part of that obligation is to take some form of action if something like this did take place, as we know through the video. In this case, it appears that it did, because of the charges and everything else. This said, do we know of any changes, or have you been made aware of any changes, or ma'am, even yourself? And you can contact, you can talk to your attorney. Have you made anybody, as a school district, made anyone on this end here aware of any changes with regards to how their operations are conducted on a school bus as a result of this incident?
We are not aware, and I think your question indicates that no one else is aware. I think that's the big issue here. The issue is that the district seems to be operating in this code or dome of silence without any real substantive conversation. We understand the need for confidentiality and discretion, but there's an obligation here because what the district did was they created the conditions that allowed an elementary school child and a middle school child to be on a bus at the same time, not attending the same school, where harm happened repeatedly, and that in the process, now we have a prosecution, what we understand will be a prosecution or follow-up, though it's in the juvenile courts, not sure how that looks.
Charges, yeah.
Criminal charges. But what we don't have is the redress of the harm. And remember, these harms for LaToya's child are just beginning. We do not know what the long-term lingering effects of trauma are or will be, and there has been no outreach to say these are the steps we're going to do to make sure this doesn't happen again.
And to simplify the question where I was going with it, and you spoke to this briefly, but
Yes.
currently is the bus situation the same as it was before?
Yes.
In some instances, it's worse. We had an incident just a couple of weeks ago where the child was late getting home. There's supposed to be a way to identify via an app where the bus is to kind of anticipate when the drop-off would be. The app is inoperable and inefficient at best, and there's no way to really depend on the information that's provided. This is the epitome of what we call a systemic failure that has resulted in unnecessary harms, not just by the doing of the school district, but really by the design. And that's the problem.
There are parallel legal approaches here. This is not uncommon. It happens all the time. You have the criminal component, you have the civil component. You're on the civil side. What's the next step?
I think the next step is, number one, to see that this school district steps up and takes accountability. I think this is a circumstance where there's clear evidence where they know that a crime occurred. Obviously, we just spoke of Harris County prosecuting these crimes. But this is an opportunity for the school to take some accountability without the need for protracted litigation and so forth. I think this is an opportunity where the school could demonstrate leadership, whereas to go initiate contact directly with the family, talk about substantive changes that are being made, and ensure that the minor child here is taken care of, that they have the needed support, and that the family has all the resources that's necessary going forward.
Ma'am, if you don't mind, we're going to tilt our camera back down again, but I think I can get you behind the microphone. I'll wait for this light. And now I'll wait for the train to finish honking the horn. She don't mind honk again. It appears we're okay. I just want to, this last question is to you, ma'am. Camera down. What is your message to the school district?
It's the same as the attorneys. Take accountability to ensure that this does not happen to somebody else's child. Do your job. Make sure that the people that you hire, that they're doing their jobs. Like, there's a deficiency in leadership, and it trickles down to employees. It's sad, and it's inexcusable. Just do better, Aldine ISD. Do better.
Nick, you guys need anything on your end?
That's good. Great, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Can I get the name of the attorneys once again, if you guys don't mind?
Make sure you got cards and contacts and all of that.
So attorney Biari Lamar, B'_IV